All right, I think we are here. So hello and welcome to the Holistic Pet Monthly Teleconference. I'm Sue-Ann Seccia-Harnden. I'm a certified Yasui Reiki Master Teacher, an energy medicine practitioner, and an animal communicator. And I'm the owner of Fifth Dimension Healing Energy here in Clinton, New Jersey. And I've helped dozens of people and animals gain balance, wellness, and peace of mind over the past 5 years in my practice. My expertise in people and animal energy medicine that safely and gently balances the body's energy field, and it's what's helped my clients be a lot more stress-free and enjoy physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual healing and overall wellness and vitality. And so my mission as a practitioner and a teacher, educator, is to help you and your pets become the best version of yourselves possible using all the safe and gentle approaches of energy medicine. And I'm joined here by my partner, Virangini Rounsaville, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Virangini Rounsaville. I'm a homeopathic health consultant educator and the founder of ViranginiCindy.com. My expertise for over the past 30 years is helping women and men interested in using a natural method of healing for themselves and families, including their pets, to acquire health and well-being by educating them on how to use homeopathy. They can either by consulting with me or attending one of my self-help classes, either in site, on person, or as online videos. I offer homeopathic consultations on the phone and in person for people and pets. One of my monumental experience with homeopathy is when I was pregnant with my daughter in the 3rd trimester. The doctor said she's breech with face up, and he said if she does not turn around by the time I get to my due date, I was going to need to have a C-section. So I had taken a homeopathic remedy that literally turned her around. I was able to have a natural, healthy delivery. That's what sold me on homeopathy. In 1982, I've been doing this for a long time. So from that point on, I became more and more interested, started studying homeopathy. How I got started helping animals was that my clients would say, hey, you've been able to help my family, and can you help my dog or my cat? And I would say, well, I'd give it a try. I would work with diarrhea and vomiting, all the good stuff. And I found out that animals use the same homeopathic remedies that people do. In fact, even have mental and emotional, just like people do. So that's how I got into working with animals. I've had the honor and the privilege since 2015 to volunteer at a local wildlife refuge. I've worked with bears and squirrels and possums and raccoons and bobcats I've worked with. And even Sue-Ann has worked with also. Sue-Ann actually was the one who introduced me to one of the local wildlife refuges. So I just love helping others using homeopathy so that they can use a natural method of healing to acquire health and well-being.
Great. So we want to welcome everybody who's with us tonight, whether you're on the phone or you're here live in one of the Zoom rooms. This is a little new for us with Zoom, so I want to take a few moments to go over a little bit about Zoom just so that you can kind of navigate through the conference with us tonight. If you're new to Zoom and you're on your laptop, you probably have started messing around by just moving your mouse over. And if you mouse over the bottom of your screen, you'll see there's a little toolbar that'll pop up, and that's where you'll see mute and video start and stop and all those things. Now we're going to have everybody muted during the presentation just so that it's a little clearer for everybody to hear. And you will be able to be unmuted during the Q&A portion at the end of tonight's teleconference. There's also a chat. So if you click on the chat button, if you haven't done that already, it'll pop up a whole little screen on the left or right side of your computer, and you should be able to chat there. Keep in mind the chat goes to everybody. And if you have any questions, then you will be able to type them in. So what we're going to encourage you to do is, as you're listening to us, jot down your questions, type them into the chat box, because that's where we're going to go. You're going to go to the Q&A portion to pick up all of your questions. So that's a little bit more about Zoom. And also, we'd love to see you in the chat room. It makes it in the Zoom room, it makes it a little bit more like a live presentation with all of our friends around here. So even if you're camera shy, believe it or not, we all are camera shy. But we would love to see your face. It'll really enhance the community of tonight's presentation. So let me talk a little bit about our agenda for tonight's conference. We are going to be presenting several case scenarios relevant to our topic of freaked out felines and distressed dogs. And that is just all about the many common forms of stress and anxiety that we've seen together in our practices in the pets that we're supporting and helping. And we'd like to share some of that with you so that you can see how we can help overcome pet stress and anxiety using safe and natural and holistic approaches. And that'll help you and your pet. And then after we go through the case scenarios, we will be answering questions. First, questions submitted ahead of the conference, which we do have some people that were able to submit ahead of time. And then, of course, all the questions that we can fit in the time we have during the Q&A portion. So go ahead and type those in the chat box or just remember them so when we get to that portion. And now we're going to get into our first case scenario, which we're going to start out with car travel woes, which is pretty common. The doggies that don't want to get in the car, the cats that hyperventilate, don't want to get in the carrier. So Cindy, let's start talking about what can we do about those car rides or those carrier rides.
So this is a case that I hear quite often from clients. So I'm gonna how can I say this? I'm going to share an experience, and then you'll probably be able to relate to it. And I'll be able to share with you how the homeopathic would work with them, something like this. So your lab sees you getting the dog leash, and he's all excited. He thinks he's going for a walk. As you're walking him closer to the car, he's backing away from you. He's pulling away, and as you're trying to pull him over to the car, lifting him up, he's scrambling around, trying to get away. We all have seen that, I'm sure. Not our dog, somebody else's. You get him into the car and he crouches down to the floor, whining. He is so scared. So homeopathy works by matching the pet or the person's symptoms to what's called a homeopathic remedy symptom picture. So if anybody's familiar with homeopathy, you may have heard the homeopathic remedy arnica montana. So what arnica does is it will stimulate and strengthen the immune system and heals the body. So to select a homeopathic remedy, you need to match the symptoms of the anxiety from being in the car. So in this example, it could be car sickness, or it could just be anxiety, or it could be anxiety because he gets car sickness. So we need to figure out what really is the problem here in order to ask, questions to clarify what homeopathic remedy they would need for your car sickness or anxiety. So once you have done that, let's say it's a straight anxiety. He's afraid of getting into the car. Once you've done that, you'll give him 1 dose of homeopathic remedy. Now, if you're not familiar with homeopathy, you may be familiar with these little blue tubes. This is what a homeopathic remedy looks like. They're small little white pellets is what they are. I don't know if I'll get anyone out, but they're little white beads. Let me see if I can tap one out of here. Not coming out too well, but the little small little beads is what they are. So this is what they would look dry. And then I like to put the homeopathic remedy in a dropper bottle, a 1 ounce dropper bottle. It's very easy to administer remedies to animals that way. So what they would do is you would put 1 remedy in the dropper bottle, you would tap the bottle 10 times, and you would give a dose either on the nose or somewhere on the body, and within a few minutes, that lab will be calmed down. It works out quickly, and it makes his ride less stressful. And after a few times of giving the homeopathic remedy, every car ride, after a while, the car ride would not be a problem anymore because the homeopathic would have addressed the anxiety that that animal was feeling. Now, if it was car sickness, you would find a remedy for the car sickness you would do. And do the same thing. You give the remedy before he would get in the car, and after a few times, then, the car would be much easier for you and the pet. So, Sue-Ann, do you have some ideas on how you would be able to help pets?
I do. I have a personal case to share with a cat. Both of my cats were actually not great car travelers, but over the years have gotten a little better. But one is severely stressed out and anxiety ridden to the point of hyperventilation, foaming at the mouth, vomiting, no matter what. So he's really been my focus in terms of trying to crack the nut on this particular scenario because it's been so severe and distressful for him and for me as well. So I clearly have been using a lot of different things, and I totally agree with the homeopathic approach. We always use homeopathy as part of our toolkit when we're doing it. There are specific remedies that are great for motion sickness, as Cindy said, and other forms of distress. But also from the energy medicine perspective, it's a pretty wide toolkit. So I've also had a lot of luck using flower essences where they are more specifically directed toward the motion sickness or just general anxiety. Things that might address the digestive woes or their breathing, even their immune system. So again, many different flower essences similar to the homeopathic remedies. It's kind of finding the right combination for your pet, but they are definitely in my toolkit for this particular case study. I've also had a lot of great luck, especially recently, with eating energy medicine for animals, and that's really about balancing their meridians and specifically focusing in on the stress response areas and pathways that are related to the stress response. So a lot of meridian rebalancing and flows and just energetic rebalancing in their entire energy field has been very successful for me in that case. Also, I have to say I'm now a huge fan of the Thunder shirt, and I have burrito wrapped my cat very successfully, and I found that to be very calming for him because it's giving him not only body safety but also a sense of warmth and comfort, like getting a big hug. And so that also adds to the calming part of the whole experience. I also take a lot of care with putting the carrier into the car because I have a soft side carrier. And I put a lot of padding and beds in there, but I also make sure that I seatbelt that carrier in and I bolster it with blankets so that I am minimizing the motion that is happening in the car. I can't help the car with the wheels on the road and the bumps and the potholes. That just, you do your best to avoid that. But anything I can do to make the car environment more stable and less motion in the car, I definitely focus on that as well. I have used classical music and with great effect, just calming music. I've used essential oils, like having a little cotton ball with some lavender in it, just kind of in the car, just lightly scented. You have to be very careful with cats with essential oils, but could work well, for your dogs. What else have we done? Of course, we've done Reiki. We've done Reiki treatments before. While we're in the car, sometimes we stop at a light. We've done affirmations. So just setting a really good, calm environment. I think one of the most important things not to overlook is you need to be calm. So it's sort of like help the pet parent first. So the calmer you are, the calmer the pet's going to be. We're, of course, supporting the pet directly. And we also do quite a bit of pre-trip preparation. So that would be, the day before and the morning of. We will be doing the remedies and the flower essences and some Reiki. We'll be doing some things wherever we can in the car trip, and then we'll be doing some things, at our destination, and certainly in reverse on the way home. Now, my cat has been a routine vomiter for these trips, and these trips are typically an hour to about an hour and 15 minutes each way. And I will tell you, by kind of combining all of these things on our last trip, it was like he slept through the whole trip, both coming and going. So it was definitely the best experience we've had. And it took me a long time to put all that stuff together, but it was very worth it. It was really very calming for him, and he really did not freak out during the trip. So there is hope for your sick car sick kitty and your doggie. Okay, so let's now talk about managing their stress once they get to their destination. So this could be the vet's office, this could be the kennel, the groomer, grandma's, wherever you're taking them, right? Wherever they finally get to, where there might be other animals present, there might be unfamiliar surroundings, there could be weird noises and smells and, just people they don't know about. So what would you do for that, Cindy?
Well, so now that you have your labs at the vet's and he's freaked out in the car, he may have even had some diarrhea he might have had, from the car ride. So what you would do is, if you give the homeopathic remedy before they got into the car, it would make his vet experience much better, it would make your experience much better, and also the vet's experience, because there's nothing worse than having an animal that's all stressed out and he's trying to examine it, doesn't want to be touched. So, if you can just calm the animal down ahead of time, it'd be great. Sometimes you have the same thing when you go into the vet's office too. They can get just as anxious, depending upon how the vet's office is run. Sometimes they schedule appointments where they're in and out, or come in one door and out the other door. So sometimes seeing other animals can freak them out also. So again, if you know they're freaked out, I would give the remedy ahead of time, before you get them in the car. Even if it's even if they are great in the car, but they don't like the vet's office, still give them a remedy before they get into the vet, because they know when they get into the car, they know when they get to the vet's office, they know where they are. So why not help them ahead of time before they even get them out of the car and walk them into the vet? So whether a car anxiety or not, I would do that. So you may say, why would you want to use a homeopathic remedy? It's natural. There are no side effects when you take a homeopathic remedy. And you're using, like I said, these little pellets are made from plants, mineral animal substances they are. And they're very small, non-toxic doses that stimulate the immune system. So the immune system does the healing. So it's not that you're going to give them a drug and then take them to the vet's office to get them in the car. The remedies work with the immune system. It balances out why they're stressed out. And that's why I said before is that you need to find out why they're anxious in order to select the remedy. That would be the best way to get the appropriate remedy. You can also take homeopathic remedy with medications. A lot of times you get older animals, rescues, they're on medications. So a remedy can be used with medications. And it's cost effective. You only need to take 1 pellet. I know the bottles say 4, 5, 6 pellets. You only need 1 pellet. And if you add that 1 pellet to a bottle with 1 ounce of water, when this bottle gets low, just keep adding more water to the bottle. So it's very cost effective. I believe a bottle like this is probably about $10, I would say, and there's about 80 pellets in one of these bottles. So that would be the best way that I would do, is to dress the animal before they get into the vet's office. So
Yeah.
Anne, anything you want to add?
Oh yeah, I agree with the heads up method, right? So from an energy medicine perspective, really specific to animal communication, which I consider energy medicine because it's vibrational in nature. We're working with vibrational energies. We would use a heads up with the pet ahead of time just to give them a sense of, hey, we're getting in the car now. Tomorrow morning we're going to be going in the car. It's going to be about an hour trip. You're going to be at the vet, you're going to get an examination or a treatment, you're going to feel really good afterwards, then we're going to get in the car and we're going to come back home and you're going to have your favorite treats, or you're going to be able to eat your lunch or whatever. So the more heads up I can give them, the better and calmer they are because they know what to expect. It's not like, surprise ambush. We pick them up, we throw them in the carrier, we zip them up, we pack them in the car, and off we go. And they have no idea what's happening. So heads up is definitely the way to go with that one. And animal communication is your best path forward with that. But I would definitely, and animal communication, for those who don't know, uses telepathic and empathic modes of communication where we're literally sharing vibrational information with the pets. Animal communicators are trained to receive and perceive in many different ways to get that information from the pets and also share information with the pets. So it's a great modality when you need information shared or learned. And I would also support that heads up methods similar to with the homeopathy. I would be using Reiki. I would be doing some tapping, emotional freedom technique type on anything that's a stress or anxiety point for them. I would definitely be using flower essences and some energy medicine balancing to calm down their stress response. But animal communication would definitely be my first path forward there. So let's transition to another scenario here that's fairly common that we see, and this is around the topic of loud noises. And this could be thunderstorms, fireworks, cars on the road, it could be people inside and outside, just anything that's sort of loud, right? Where the animal gets freaked out or anxious or cowers or just, has a very stressful response to that kind of noise. So what would you do, Cindy, in that case?
Well, I had a client call me up one day and she says to me, every time there's a thunderstorm, her and her dog was laying in the bathtub till the storm blows over. Wow. So I said to her, well, that's great. You're away from thunder, away from lightning, nothing can strike you. However, if you gave a homeopathic remedy before the thunderstorm hits, or as soon as it's getting dark and cloudy, before the thunderstorm comes in, you won't be needing to go into the bathtub anymore. So that's what we did. I worked up a remedy for the dog. She put a drop on, so the thunderstorm was coming in. She put a drop on his nose, and they were no longer in the bathtub. Or sitting there, whatever else, watching TV, whatever else they decide to do. And again, once you do that a few times, a few thunderstorms, depending on how many thunderstorms you have, but once you've done that a few times, you will not need to even give the remedy to the dog anymore or to the cat anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole idea, is that the remedy is going to address why they have the problem. That's what it's going to do. It's going to address that so they no longer have the problem. So that's one of my favorite stories, is the bathtub one.
Yeah, that's a great one. And I found for that particular case, flower essences can be very helpful, which for those who don't know, and I've mentioned it a couple of times, the flower essences, they are even more vibrational, I guess, than homeopathic remedies. They're very distilled essences of the flowers. And what we're getting out of the flower essence is the divine healing and wisdom that plant or that flower has acquired over centuries and centuries of evolution to survive, thrive, and evolve. And solve the challenges in its own environment. So when we're using flower essences, we're not using the aromatherapy part of flowers, we're not using the concentrated form like we would with an essential oil, we're actually just distilling out the healing wisdom that plant contains, and it's put into a dropper bottle. They look actually very similar to remedy bottles, to the homeopathic remedy bottles. They're also in colored bottles. Unfortunately, I didn't grab one here tonight, but blue bottles, amber bottles, they're colored to protect the vibration because they're very sensitive to vibration. So we're basically using whichever flower essence, and there are literally hundreds of them available, maybe thousands, that address, again, that vibrational symptom or that spectrum of feelings or emotions. But what flower essences do really, really well is they provide missing clues. They kind of fill in the breadcrumbs in the path to untangle challenges and things that we're missing the boat on, so to speak. So that's where, you know, flower essences can be a great ally, and they are super simple to use, literally, because they are, at least the brand I use, are herbally preserved, and they're in a liquid base. You can just take a few drops and put them into a water bottle, or drop a drop of them onto your pet's paw and rub it in, or on your hand and pet it into their fur. You can put it in a separate water bowl and let them drink it. You can put it in a little spritzer bottle and mist it around the air, around their bedding, or, you know, pet it or groom it into them. So they're very, very easy to use with animals. And because it's really energy and it's the vibration that your pet is picking up, they are reading that information and they are taking that in through their electrical field. And that's how the information gets distilled, and that's how it actually gets used. So what's great about flower essences is there's no contraindications. They are, how should we say, they are virtually idiot-proof. They don't collide with anything else. You really just have to use them to get them seeding those healing clues and those spiritual healing clues, if you will, into the pet's electrical system, so that the pet can take in what they need. What they don't need, because it's just information, they will disregard, and there'll be no interaction or no action at all from it. So you really just need to be using them consistently to continue to provide clues as they need them. And then, again, they can be used alongside every other modality that you can think of. There's absolutely no pharmacological interaction, so they won't interact with drugs or homeopathy or herbals or any other, you know, typical traditional drugs. So they're super easy for that. But what I found with the flower essences, because they're working with the electrical system, and that's where pets store a lot of their excess energy, especially our domestic pets, they hold on to, because they cannot discharge as they would if they were out in the wild, a lot of extra energy. And so sometimes you get into these destructive behaviors that are like barking. They respond to loud barking by barking louder themselves because they're trying to counteract it. But it could also be they start barking, they start chewing, they start scratching. They might be doing other inappropriate type behaviors because they're trying to release this excess energy, and the flower essences can help them with that more constructive discharge of the energy in their electrical field. So it could be a great asset to them. Also, flower essences, one in particular that I'm thinking of, can buffer their energy field to protect them from those excess vibrations that they're picking up. I mean, just like people, we're picking up all of the extra electromagnetic frequencies from our phones and our computers and all the other things that are out in our, high-tech environment now. Well, the pets are picking that up too, and none of our electrical fields were built to take that onslaught of all those EMFs, as we say, that are coming in. So flower essences can also be very protective. They can buffer as well as help discharge. So that's a good thing. And then other things that might just support, we talked about doing some meridian work to kind of help rebalance their responses and their reactions, but we might also think about the thunder shirt or wrapping them in their blanket. So those would be some of the other things I would offer in that situation. Cindy?
So talking about giving them a sense of safety leads us to our next scenario about stress caused from unfamiliar people and pets. So I often get a call from animals. As an example, let me use the example of a cat. I say, I'm giving you a case scenario. I think case scenario is one of the best ways to understand and learn homeopathy. That's why I'm giving you case scenarios. So I get a cat that had surgery, and now the cat has one of those cones on its head, so it does not lick, or attack the stitches. And the cat's freaked out with this cone the first day. So what I do when I have an animal, when I have a client that calls me about their animal having a surgery, I always ask them, what does the vet expect during the healing process? What kind of pain is he expecting? How is the animal supposed to be acting? And then I would gear the remedies to give them for the healing of the surgery. But I also ask them, does the vet expect to put a cone over the animal? This way we're ahead of the game, so they already have the remedies already. So when they call me, hopefully they're going to call me having the surgery a week later, not tomorrow, because it's hard to get remedies that quickly sometimes. So hopefully they'll give me enough a heads up, And I would always ask, what surgery going to be having, what the procedure is going to be, what does the vet expect for the next visit to be looking for, and I would aim the remedies that way. And then, like I said, does the vet expect it? Has a vet talked about putting a cone on? So this way we can give the remedy for the anxiety of having this cone on the cat or the dog's, around their neck they would have. So again, when you're working with surgery, we would give the remedy several times. They would be taking doses. But as far as giving a remedy for the anxiety of the cone, they would just get one dose. And then usually after that one dose, they'll calm down within a few minutes, and then they're good to go. Now we're on with the whole healing process. Instead of the cat fighting, fighting back and forth, and who knows what else they could be doing, moving their body trying to get this cone off, could be disrupting the stitches or anything else that had just done with the animal. So within a few minutes, you would see a change with that.
Very good. Well, this is another case where I think animal communication can be very valuable, because sometimes other beings will trigger an unfavorable response. And, you might not necessarily know it or feel it yourself, but your animal is a natural reader of energy. So they are maybe picking up things that you may not be sensitive to or just aware of, and it can just be something that's off or negative in the other person or animal's energy field. And it's just one of those things where if we can find out and get to the root cause by actually asking the pet, what is it about this situation that does trigger you or does freak you out or make you anxious, then we can determine what is the next best step. Which way would it be in a homeopathic consult? Maybe they need some body work to calm down. Maybe there's information that has to be shared back to the pet parent about a situation or a person or something the animal likes or doesn't like. So that is really, where I would go more on animal communication, because if you've got to do a little fact finding first to kind of get to the root cause and find out, what it is or why they do get triggered, and then determine which path of support would be most appropriate for them. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about another common area of stress and anxiety, which is when your pet gets injured or if they suffer some type of a trauma or they're recovering from surgery or illness. So what are some of the things that we can do to help alleviate their stress and anxiety from that, Cindy?
So a lot of our calls that we get, or animals that we help, a lot of times are rescues. They are. So I had a client that called me up this past year, and she had rescued a 5-year-old German Shepherd. And what happens is he barks and barks and barks when somebody is to come to the house. So what she has to do, she has to put a leash on her dog until he calms down. And then she tells everybody, don't even look at her. Don't make any eye contact, and she'll calm down that much quicker. She's okay with other animals, with other dogs. The other sad story is that when she rescued the shepherd, she also rescued the shepherd's mom. And then I say a few months later, the mother passed away. So since the mother passed away, she's gotten much closer to the owner, very protected to the owner. And that's why she's barking. That's why we're guessing she's barking. Now, she's not communicating with Sue Ann. So far, the remedies are working so well. So if the remedies were not working or we're not getting in with the remedy, I would suggest that she would have a communication session with Sue Ann. But so far, the animal is responding with the remedy. So what happens is she has fears of losing her owner too. That's what we're guessing by the way she's acting. When she's around, she's very protective. All day long, she's by her owner's side. And what we would do in this case is the shepherd would have to take the remedy every day. This is not a case where one dose of remedy is going to do the job. This is, what can I say, something that she's lost her mother. She was 5 years old. She lost her mother. Even though they're together, she's still 5, but she's still, she's still a young dog. So having that loss, we'd have to put on a remedy to take once a day in order to get to the root cause of why she is having that anxiety or having that feel abandonment, maybe is what could be happening with her. So when an animal needs more than one dose, we put the remedy into water, we tap the bottle 10 times, and they would take a dose once a day, they would do. And then within 5 to 7 days, I'd be looking for a change. So it can happen sooner, but to be fair to the remedy, I would say 5 to 7 days. So what would I be looking for? So in this case, let's say the owner can now maybe go to the bathroom without the dog following her into the bathroom. Or maybe the dog now, when somebody comes to the house, she may only bark maybe 5 minutes instead of 10 minutes now. That's the kind of change I'd be looking for within a week's time. And as the shepherd would continue on the remedy, we would build on that and get to the point now where the shepherd is able now to be around when somebody comes to the house. or like a UPS guy comes to the house. He's not barking so much. He's okay. So that's what I'd be looking for. So, there's remedies that need to be taken once a day, and there's remedies that could be taken like 1 or 2 doses and the job will be done until the next time the scenario happens again. It's like a thunderstorm. You only take the remedy when you have the thunderstorm. Where in this case, it's a daily thing for this one.
Right.
So Anne, you have any?
Yeah.
Share with that.
Anything that's stress from injuries or illness or accident kind of things, my go-to is Reiki. So Reiki is healing energy. It can be done both hands-on and hands-off for both people and for pets. And it works at all the different levels: physical, mental, emotional, and even spiritual. And as practitioners, we don't even necessarily need to know what the actual problem is. We don't diagnose, we don't prescribe, but we also don't necessarily need to know the root cause, because the Reiki contains a unique healing wisdom of its own and really knows where to go when we're offering that energy to an animal or person where the root healing needs to occur. And then as it resolves that, the rebalancing of the other parts of the person or animal's energy field kind of rebalances and resolves at all the different levels. So it's a great first start whenever there's any kind of injury or accident, is to get that healing response going. It's very deeply relaxing Reiki. So the first thing that will happen is the person or the animal will sort of just, sigh and they'll have some deep release, and you can tell they're more deeply relaxing. And that's what we want to see, because deep relaxation is the gateway to tapping into the self-healing response for both people and for animals. So animals who understand energy medicine and read it well and can understand that this is good and high quality vibrational healing and good energy are quite open to it and allowing of it, as long as it's not forced on them, as long as it's not like we're running around chasing them or we're trying to clamp our hands on them. So in particular, animal Reiki is done typically hands-off unless the animal wants to experience contact from the practitioner, and is also quite effectively done as a distance treatment. I would say that 80% of my animal Reiki clients are receiving distance treatments from me. I see about 20% of them actually in person, where I'm in the same room with them. And we have had phenomenal success rates with animal Reiki rebalancing, not only with domestic animals, our doggies and our kitties and other small animals, but at the wildlife refuge, as Cindy mentioned, all of that work needs to be done distance because they're wild animals. So I might be on the campus and not necessarily near them, or I might actually be doing a real distance treatment from my home office to the campus. But the animals pick up and understand that energy, and they know what to do with it, and they know that it helps them relax and rebalance. So Reiki is an absolutely phenomenal treatment for any kind of accident, illness, or injury. Another thing I would say that we have seen commonly, I think, both Cindy and I, is that even with the healing response, if it's going along well at the physical level, we have also seen times where they hit a plateau or they seem to go backwards, right, and they stop. So the other value that tools like Reiki and some of the other energy medicine techniques I've been talking about, like flower essences or even emotional freedom technique, or something that works at more the emotional level, or a remedy that's chosen to work at the emotional level, is we need to go up a level in healing sometimes in order to continue the physical level healing. So we have a lot of that opportunity with energy medicine to be able to work at all these different layers and levels and address where that person or the animal is out of balance. So again, it can really help us get past the emotional stuckness and resolve that part of the healing, and then the physical level healing can continue to move forward. So really it's about using the right energy medicine tool to free up the energetic block and let the body continue on its natural healing path. So again, Reiki, emotional freedom technique, which by the way, we don't actually tap on the animals, and I can explain that at the end if people have questions. There's a specific animal tapping technique that we can use that works very similar to the way it works for people. And of course, meridian work or flower essences would be all supportive for any kind of stress due to illness, accident, or trauma. Okay, so we are zooming along here in our Zoom room, and we've got about 20 minutes left. So we do have one other scenario that we wanted to share with you that's fairly common: stress and anxiety. And this is the stress or anxiety that your pet actually experiences by taking on your life stresses as a pet owner, otherwise known as mirroring. And this is perhaps, I think, the most difficult thing to sort out when we are trying to figure out how best to help our pets, because number one, unless we're very aware of our own world and our own emotions and kind of the energy we're putting out, we're not necessarily recognizing what our pet is experiencing on the other side of it. And our pets are very attached to us. They are in our energy fields. They read our energy. They read the dynamics of the family and the environment. So when things are a little challenging for us, they pick up on that, right? And a lot of times we see they actually take that on, and those sufferings and those patterns become their own, and then it contributes to their own illness or their own depression or their own acting out or some other response that apparently seems to be inappropriate. And it can come out as, peeing outside the litter box or chewing up, all the shoes in the closet or some other response. And that's the call we get, how do I stop my cat from peeing out of the litter box? How do I stop my dog from, attacking the other dog and chewing up everything in my house? But when you get underneath it, you realize it's not that it's kind of the animal's problem, but really what they're trying to do is show you something you need to look at. So if you've ruled out everything else, you've gone to the vet and checked out any physical level issues and, done the best you can with any other modalities, sometimes we really do have to go in there and get into what is going on in the environment the pet is living in. And maybe that becomes the root cause of why they're out of balance and why they're acting out or mirroring, some kind of destructive behaviors. So, Cindy, I don't know if you have some other options on that.
Well, I've had clients call me about, they would call and say, well, my dog is chewing at his leg or its paws all the time, like a nervous condition, or has like a bladder condition, or a kidney infection, and he's getting, I want to say this, and getting to the pet symptoms, you have to always ask, when did the symptoms start? So when did the dog start chewing on his paws? It's called etiology, never well since. So you would say so they say, oh, it happened about 3 or 4 months ago, the dog started chewing on its paws. So you would have to ask what happened 4 or 5 months ago? Because symptoms always start in the emotional. So you don't just show up 3 or 4 months ago. You want to go back a little bit further back, what has happened 4 or 5 months ago, to almost get to the root cause of why that dog is chewing on its paws. And if you can't find out anything, a lot of times I will ask the owner, what has happened in the family dynamics in the last 4 or 5 months? Sometimes they'll tell me another pet has passed away. That happens quite often. Or they'll say that a spouse has passed away, or the owner might be under some stress or overwhelmed, or he could even have a financial problem. So like Suzanne was saying, the pet picks up on this, picks up on your nervous energy, and is chewing at its paw. So what you would do is you would find a remedy for what the animal, to calm the animal down, which the owner actually needs to take a remedy too. So they could either take a homeopathic remedy to address why they have the issues, or they would choose some other method in order to address what's going on for them. So like Suzanne said, you would work with the animal, but it really comes down to working with the owner. Now, we've also seen, Suzanne, I can even conduct, we also have seen it may not necessarily be the main owner. It could also be somebody else in the family. It could be a child in the family, or something else going on in family dynamics that is causing that problem. So it may not necessarily be the actual owner, the main, what do I say, the one that the animal is most closely to. So it may not be that person. So that's why I said you would have to address the animal chewing at his, address his nervousness, and then also have the owner address what's going on in their family, and what's caused them to be stressful. So now that we've covered some of the most common cases that your pet can experience related to stress and anxiety, we want to circle back around onto why you're here in the first place with us tonight. And that is to help your pet get safe, to stay healthy and in a safe and natural method. So let's review the pillars of health so that we're on the same page. So when something goes wrong, we always go back to a quick fix we want. We want that quick thing. We got a zit on our face. We want something to take it off. We want a quick response instead of addressing why we have that zit. So what we have to be doing is we need to be thinking about what really is going on. What are we really trying to achieve? So in homeopathy or energy medicine or any other integrative health approaches, we are seeking to rebalance the body systems and the energy field to bring about optimal health and wellness. Well, what does that really mean? What does that mean to you, health and wellness? So what it means is that what you're looking for is, number one, the energy to increase or more balance. So if you have a young puppy, a young animal, you want the energy to be balanced. If it's an older animal, you want the energy to be increased. Now, increase for what an older animal would be. We don't expect it to be a ball of fire or to run around like a 5-year-old. He's 10 years old. We don't expect that. But the energy to be coming back, because energy, we're working with energy. We are working with medicines, energy medicine. So the energy has to increase in order for that animal to have health and wellness. Number two, they need to exhibit a feeling of well-being, mentally and emotionally, to have to be. Number three, the sleep cycles have to improve. It's actually more appropriate for the age and the species of the animal. Like I said with the energy, if it's an older cat and the cat's sleeping much more since being sick, we want the cat to go back to its normal sleeping patterns, what it had before it became sick. Or if you have it that it's, up all night, and it normally was not up. Of course, cats are up all night anyway, but the change in the sleep cycle, we want that to be balanced out, and what we're looking for. And number four, we want the bodily systems and functions, the digestion, the elimination, and the appetite, all to be normal and appropriate for who they are. So we're looking to, when we have optimal health, we have better sleep, we feel better emotionally, and we have good energy. Now, the good energy comes because the sleep balances out. And like I said, we're working with energy medicine, so we are energy. We have an energy field. We're matching the energy, or the homeopathic remedy, the energy of the flower essence, the energy of the communication that is done through the communication, like Sue Ann was talking about. That's what we're matching. And once we have unlocked the door to that, now the healing takes place. Now the body, now the animal improves. Happens the same thing with people too. So it just does not just apply to animals. This also applies to people too. But since we're talking about animals, that's what we're looking for. Sue Ann, anything else you want to add to that?
Well, no, I think I want to say at this point that another reason most of you are probably with us tonight is you're kind of tired of taking this scattershot approach of looking for, this and that, and just sort of, hitting it one way and then waiting to see what happens and hoping for the best. And so I think many of us are just looking for a more holistic and integrated way to help our pets, right? And by working with this more integrative approach, you're more likely to get to a root cause faster and figure out why your pet is more stressed, is so stressed, and how to help them be less stressed faster and with less side effects. So let's face it, every one of us knows, and we've experienced any form of stress and anxiety in our own life, it feels awful. It just wears you out. It makes you depressed. It gives you sleepless nights. Your body feels horrible. Your emotions feel awful. You just feel like you're not yourself, right? You're not your best self because you're so stressed out or you're weighed down with anxiety. And that takes a huge toll on our physical being, and then as it knocks down our immune system, it becomes the gateway to all kinds of other challenges that we have from a health and well-being perspective. So anything we can do to nip stress and anxiety in the bud is really the best thing for both our pets and ourselves. So at this point, I just would like to know if it would be all right if we tell you a little bit about our Premier Pet Package, which will offer you and your pet a little more comprehensive way to go about trying to address some of the issues they're facing. Would that be okay?
I would say that'd be great. Yes, let's share it, Sue Ann.
Yeah, let's tell them a little bit about it. So, working integratively together for the past few years, Cindy and I have come up with a package that allows pet parents to get a more comprehensive approach to working. So it's based on both phone consultations and distance healing treatments, and offering remedies and treatments that are unique to your pet based on those consultations. All the services are offered as remote healing or phone-based sessions or consultations, and they're scheduled as appointments once you've purchased a Premier Pet Package with us. And the services in this package include a 1 animal communication session with me, a homeopathic consult with Cindy that also includes the remedies, and a remote energy healing session for your pet with me. So your pet is going to be getting help from several different angles, as we've explained tonight, working at all different layers and levels, if you will, to help them rebalance their stress and anxiety safely and naturally. And if you book with us within 48 hours of our teleconference, because you've been great enough to join us live here, we'd like to offer you a special live event pricing of $197 for all 3 services. Normally, we would charge $229 for this. So if this is something that you are concerned about, if your pet's been experiencing stress and anxiety, or if you've been dealing with chronic stress and anxiety and you're at your wit's end, I invite you to take action. get the live event pricing and hop on our schedules to get the Premier Pet Package going so we can help you get your pet back to peace, calm, and balance in their life. And I'm going to share my screen here because I did want to just give you some details on that. So bear with me 1 second. Little go here. Fun. I don't know if I can share that, Cindy. I was.
Yeah, you lost it.
Yeah, hold on 1 second.
Had it earlier.
I'll do it the other way. Not do that. On my desktop here, I guess we'll do it that way. All right. 1 moment, please. So in this, you can all see it.
Yep, that's good.
Pet package, right? Unleashing the pet's inner healer. And again, offering it at a live event price, which is only good for the next 48 hours. And again, what's in it is animal communication. I've talked about that several times tonight. A great way to get to the root cause of what is going on from your pet's perspective, get into their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, their experiences, give you the information you need to make a more informed decision. You can also get an animal energy treatment with that. That could be any of the things we've talked about. It could be Reiki, it could be even energy meridian balancing, it could be the tapping, it could be spiritual response, which I haven't really talked about with tonight's case scenarios. It could even be the biomat if we happen to be doing something in person. And then of course you get a homeopathic consultation with Cindy, also a 30-minute consult, and includes your homeopathic remedies. And we are spending a lot of time with you and your pet. That's, you know, that package has about 3 hours of focused support for you and your pet. And the great thing is once you book the package, you have 3 months to book all the services. So you don't have to hop on and try to jam all your consultations and your appointments in there. We really want to work with you consultatively, holistically, and integratively, and really get to the root cause of what is going on with your pet and try to get that rebalancing going in a nice, safe, and natural way. So we are going to send you some information about it. I don't want to bombard you with all the details now because we do want to get to some questions, but we wanted to let you know that that is available to you. And if you take faster action, we can offer it to you at a special live event price. So we are probably, let me just stop the share here for a second. Cindy, I think we're at the point now where we really want to just get into some questions, yes?
Well, can we share a few examples? I have an example that comes to my mind, Sue Ann.
Oh, sure.
About how our approach works. And this is where I really saw it really come to happen. Mm-hmm. My daughter has rescued 2 cats. And the one cat kept peeing out of the kitty litter. And we thought it had a bladder infection. So I gave it the appropriate homeopathic remedy. The bladder infection would go away. And a couple of weeks, it would come back again, start peeing out of the box again. Yeah. So I gave it some more remedies again, and it kept happening. She actually took it to the veterinarian, to the vet she took it to. They wanted to put it on medication. Before she brought it back, we put it back on remedies again. And then finally I said to her, you know what? A colleague of mine does animal communication. I said, if you're open to it, I will reach out to her and I will have her see what's going on. Now, Sue Ann knows me for what, I don't know, what 4 or 5 years now, Sue Ann, something like that. We've been working together. And she knew nothing about my daughter. She knew I had a daughter, she knew I had a son, she knew I had grandchildren, but she knew nothing about my daughter, other than I had her and I had, you know, she's got a granddaughter. So she snapped a pic, took a picture, you know, we emailed her a picture. She had a couple of questions she asked, you know, what the bladder infection's coming, you know, what the peeing's coming from. Because now the cat was peeing on the carpet in the living room. It was peeing in other areas, not just next to the cat litter box. It was peeing in other spots. And she says, Mom, I just bought carpet. I want to, you know, buy all new carpet again. So Sue Ann communicates with the animal. Now she has 2 of them, so they should communicate with the one animal I had to pee from. And the other one, I guess, kind of chimed in, I guess as Sue Ann would say, kind of chimed in the conversation. And then what happened is Sue Ann started sharing with me what the cat was PO'd. You know what I mean by? Pissed off, all right? What? She says she was upset because she did not like my daughter's boyfriend. She thought she can do better than who she was with. He did not treat her right. Now, he did not treat her abusively, but he didn't treat her right. So I'm writing this down first, writing this all down. I couldn't write fast enough. And I said, holy cow, she nailed it. She nailed it. And so what Sue Ann did was, I mean, she told me more about the conference, you know, more about the cat, what it said, but what she ended up doing, she put a flower essence. She put several flower essences in like a dropper bottle, just like what I showed you before. She put in there. And what my daughter did was every day she would write, it would be for her and be for actually both cats got flower essences. They got into the same bottle. So every day she would rub it onto the cat, put it on the cat's body. She would actually, both cats. So as she's doing it, she's getting it also. So what the flower essence did was it was helping the cat and also helping my daughter with the transition and helping her to, what can I say? We all have been telling her that this guy's not right for you, but she didn't want to hear it. So it came through the cat. The cat, like I said, was PO'd. So it took a few months. She did it every day, and it took several months. And I want to say this fall, she actually finally kicked the guy out. So and like I said, Sue Ann had no idea about my daughter. I had never mentioned her, what was going on. We didn't discuss that kind of stuff. We were discussing animals, actually. We didn't discuss that kind of stuff. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Another one I had is, and like I said, a lot of times, Sue Ann, we will go back and forth. That's why we come with this package, because I was working with clients. Now, the dog, I talk about the shepherd dog, that woman there lives in Pennsylvania. She lives on the other, like in Pittsburgh area where she lives at. So a lot of times we would work with cases, and if we would like hit a wall or it was not quite working around, I would say, hey, would you be interested in having Sue Ann communicate and see what's really going on there? Recommend some Sue Ann service, and vice versa. Sue Ann do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So I had one of my clients, an old, long-time client of mine, had this little puppy, this little dog she got. And the dog was barking. I think she had the dog maybe about a year. And the dog started barking a whole lot when she brought in another dog. She thought the dog was lonely, so she wanted to bring another dog in, is what she wanted to do. So I worked with remedies with the anxiety and the barking. It would only go so far. And she was open to animal communication too. So I gave her Sue Ann's information, and Sue Ann communicated. You want to carry on with the story? What happened? What happened with that story? You know which one I'm talking about, Sue Ann?
Yeah, no, she did end up, we did communication. She did end up actually taking in flower essences, and it was a combination of just, a little bit being lonely. But the thing I remember most is, and this I see a lot with small animals, is some of that like excessive barking comes from the fact that they're in very small bodies and dealing with an environment that's a lot bigger than them. And it causes a lot of stress and anxiety for them. So it's not uncommon to find like small beings that bark really loudly. And they're just trying to kind of put out a safety buffer to the world. So it was very interesting. And she was able to calm down with some energy work and some flower essences. And I think, there's still some barking there, but I don't think it's as excessive as it was when she contacted me. Yeah, and then finally, before we get to some Q&A, because I want to make sure we stay close to our time here in respect for everybody's time, we had met through one of our holistic animal wellness days where we just had people come in for consultations and whatnot. A lovely couple who had a very new dog to them and had been to a trainer and just for whatever reason could not get their dog in the car without major drama. I remember them telling me, I think she was like a belly crawler. As soon as they would go out with the leash and open the door, the dog would go, but she would kind of like army crawl, like, oh no, staying as close to the ground as possible. And then, they had to hoist her up and get her in the car, and she was, hyperventilating the whole way along. And over time, I saw her initially, we did some communication. We understood what her challenge was. She did communicate her sense of motion, sickness and discomfort. And she also related it, and this does also come up in animal communication, to a prior experience in a past life. And I find that quite often with animals, that the stuff they have in their bodies, the cellular memory they have sometimes, comes from in another experience or another being, and something triggers it here, and then they have all this stress and anxiety around things like motion sickness or being in a car. So it was a combination there too of doing communication to get the pet's perspective, then going after flower essences, and then a regular routine of Reiki on a regular basis to calm her down before, in advance of going on trips. And she has become a world-class car traveler. They go to trips up and down the East Coast now, and she's been fine with that. We did some Reiki with her before she had to go to a boarding kennel, which she had to be in for a couple of weeks, and she had never done that before, and she sailed through it like a champ. Because we communicated ahead of time, we gave her the flower essences to keep her calm and prepared, and basically kept going with the Reiki. So these are the great success stories that Cindy and I have by using these holistic approaches and taking animals that are in great distress and lots of anxiety and giving them a better quality of life and a better experience. So, all right, so I think we should spend the rest of our time taking the questions. I know I'm going to stop the screen share here just for a minute so I can get to the chat room. I know there were a couple of questions that came up in chat for you, Cindy, around the remedies. So let me just ask those.
It says, would the remedy be the same for all types of anxiety? Okay. So there are well over 3,000 homeopathic remedies, and they cover a wide range from A to Z, literally. So there's several anxiety remedies, and like I mentioned before, is you have to go what the symptoms would be. So it could be say a diarrhea, anxiety with diarrhea. That could be a remedy. You would select a remedy for the diarrhea, anxiety. There could be with a shaking, where the whole body is just shaking, like you're just like nervous, like weak legs, kind of a thing. That'd be another anxiety remedy. It could be. There could also be, like we talked about, the dog was in motion sickness, so that could be, we would in that case we would do the anxiety, but if it had the motion sickness, we'd have to give a remedy for the motion sickness, forced movement, want better fresh air. So there's many remedies. There's probably about, I'm going to say probably about 5, 6, maybe 10 homeopathic remedies that can be used. So you have to match the symptom that person is, or that animal is exhibiting, to what's called a homeopathic remedy symptom picture. And the anxiety, well, again, you have to find out what with the thunderstorms. Like the dog that was it could have been the anxiety of the loud noise. It could have been just energetically because of the energy in the air when there's a lot of thunder and lightning going on. So you have to kind of see. So there's many different remedies for thunderstorms. There's remedies for anxiety from thunderstorms. There's also remedies for people who love thunderstorms too. You don't see that many, but you do. What's the next one? The thunder shirt. I'm not familiar with. I've seen it, but I've never used the thunder shirt myself. But
no, I'll try. That's
you cracked that one. Okay.
So yes, the thunder shirt I would definitely use for an anxious pet, because again, it's about you don't know which level is necessarily off, but you're probably, if you're, not all cats would wear the thunder shirt. People are always amazed that my cat actually does like it. But once they kind of get used to it and they feel better, then they're a lot more open to it. So yes, I would say get a thunder shirt. For anxiety at the vet visit, just practice with it. That's what I did. I practiced with it a couple of weeks before I do. After I got it, I just kind of it's a little bit tricky to put on too. It's when I say burrito wrap, I'm not kidding. It's literally like wrap around and around, and there's a little technique to it. So you have to practice with your animal, but take your animal on a really short car ride. Like do the whole prep as if you're going to the vet ahead of time. Do some practice runs. That worked really great for me. It gave them a chance to get used to it. I got used to doing it, and now I'm a champ. I can burrito him up in like 2 minutes and zip him into his carrier, and he's off and running. So take that time, but make it play. Make it like it's not. Part of that anxiety with the car travel is, if the only experience you've ever had is going to a place where you feel you're getting hurt or you're stressed out, you're not going to be looking forward to it. So if you have other experiences, you can give them to sort of offset that, like, hey, we're just going for a car ride, or hey, we're going to put this thunder shirt on and we're just literally going to go around the block and then come back in and then you're going to get a treat. You can do lots of amazing things to get rid of stress and anxiety by just kind of playing a few little games with them and kind of preparing ahead. Mm-hmm. What other questions came up in chat?
The last question is here on the chat is, where can you buy homeopathic remedies? So like I mentioned, as most people are going to be finding is the boron blue tubes you're going to be finding. So these can be purchased at health food stores or the most common. And like I said, there's 3,000 homeopathic remedies. They're only going to have a limited selection because of shelf space in the store. Health food stores, nowadays you can find them at the pharmacies like CVS and Walgreens. They do carry a small limited amount of remedies. You can also order homeopathic remedies online. You can actually go to Boron, the actual company itself, and order the remedies directly. You can and have them shipped to you. Well, there's many companies out there that many online ways of buying them. I always get the question: are they safe? They are all safe because a homeopathic remedy has been made by a homeopathic pharmacy protocol, just like medications. So you can make your own remedy. There's ways to make your own remedy. You can do that. But if they're going to sell them, it has to be made in a certain way. And so Boron is a good company. They're all good companies. A lot of times you'll see Dolisos, Dolissios, something like that. What else? You may see Highlands is another brand. And remedies come either as pellets or they can also come as tablets. So usually the tablets are usually more like a 6x potency, where the remedy blue bottles are C potencies. And the C potency is a little more energy, where the X potency, how that is made, is a little bit closer to the actual substance. That's a whole other topic. If you would like me to give you more information about that, email me and I can share more with you about that. We could do. But health food stores all carry them. They can do.
Okay.
I think you could buy them on Amazon. I think they do too. But,
Wow. Yeah. And what can't you really buy on Amazon?
Yeah, that's true.
So I want to take one of the questions that was actually submitted ahead of time. This is about flower essences. Talking about the flower essences I recommend. So apparently from on my website, you can see I use a line of flower essences called Green Hope Farm. And part of the reason I'm very attracted to them is I feel like they're very well made, they're very high vibration, and they are preserved with an herbal preservative and white vinegar, as opposed to a more traditional preparation that might have alcohol in it, such as the Bach flowers. Now, a lot of herbals and flower essences have come up with non-alcohol based preservation methods, and some of them are glycerin, and whatever they use is fine. But the primary reason I like to have a non-alcohol based for animals and for people is people and animals do have alcohol sensitivity, right? So, and I'm not talking I'm not a vet, right? I don't diagnose, I don't prescribe. I'm talking purely from an energy medicine perspective. Vibration of alcohol is a fairly low vibration. That's what happens, right? When we drink our alcohol, we get, our vibration goes down. It does not go up. So there's that part of it. So it really has somewhat to do with the sensitivity of people and animals with alcohol. I feel it takes the vibration of the remedy itself, the flower essence, down a little bit as opposed to enhancing it, which is why I go with an herbal preservative one. So I don't know if that answers the question of the person, but they're all good. You have to find one that resonates with you and your pet. Bach, when they first came out, and I believe for forever, I don't know if they've expanded the line, started with 38 flower remedies, because Dr. Bach said that's basically all you need, and you could kind of mix and match them, and you would cover a whole spectrum of conditions. But Green Hope, I think there must be over 500 flower essences that I have access to, and I do order them. I am a flower essence consultant and formulator, and I use their line to custom blend my own. So they have custom blends for pets and for people. They have what we call singles or simples, where it's just a single flower essence, and then they have some that are more spectrum flower essences that cover a whole condition of things, such as the immune system or grief and loss or anxiety or digestive woes, to give you some idea. So combining those all, and sometimes I'm combining some of the spectrum ones to come up with the right mix of the flower essence that your particular pet might need. So it does come down to somewhat of a preference, but I think for me, the reason why something with non-alcohol works better is because, again, it's vibrational medicine, so we want to be able to carry the highest vibration forward with that flower essence into the electrical field for the pet or the person. So I hope that answers that question. We have another question here that came up about a rescue terrier has had 3 types of energy interventions for aggressive leash-to-leash behavior, delivery man aggression, and general anxiety to noises. And none of those 3 different sessions have reduced the behavior. He's very sweet, minus this particular aspect. And they've had him for about 2 years, and he has seen a trainer. So what are the other options? So not knowing exactly what type of energy intervention you've had, I think a lot of what we talked about tonight would be things to explore with us. And certainly we both offer complimentary 15-minute phone consultations just to give you a discovery session, if you will, so we can get to know what's going on with your pet and guide you appropriately. So if it's something we haven't covered or made obvious to you as a solution tonight, give us a call or send us an email, and we'll get on the phone with you and see if we can come up with a better solution for you than what you may have experienced. Other questions, Cindy? Let's see another question that came in here, and I just want to make sure there wasn't anything else on the chat. How long does it take to see improvement once my pet has been treated by some of these energy methods? Okay. So if you want to take that, Cindy?
All right, so like I mentioned before, if you're working with anxiety, within a few minutes, like the thunderstorms, the dog, the owner with the dog in the bathtub, give the remedy within a few minutes, that animal is calming down already. So they only need that one dose. What happened? The same thing with for what can I say? For nausea and vomiting. Now, nausea and vomiting, they have like car sickness. They may need a dose they'll need. They may need another dose later on. It depends on what you're really addressing there. I mentioned to you before about the shepherd, because it's one dose is not going to take care of the job. They'll need to take the remedy once a day for several days, but I've been looking for a change within 5 to 7 days. I mean, that shepherd's probably going to be on the run for probably a good month, probably, to address. You get to rescue. You know, you never know when you get a rescue where they came from. You know, not necessarily who the prior owner, but the trend for where the owner came, dropped him off, or had to, where he left the owner, I should say, where that rescue has left the owner to get into your home. You have no idea what has transpired in that. You know, what that animal has experienced, whether it be cages or it may be. So a lot of this stuff comes from, you know, the anxiety they've had along the way, and all it does, it just carries it now into the new household. So that's why you need to address why that animal is anxious, the best that you can. So I would look for, within a few minutes for anxiety, I would look for a change. Within a few minutes, calming down.
Yeah, and from my perspective, so actually there is a specific flower essence that we use for all rescues, ferals. It's actually called abandonment and abuse, because it covers that whole spectrum. Because as Cindy said, we have no idea what happened, where they've been, what they've experienced, you know, what may have befallen them before they came into our loving household. So we kind of want to help them release and rebalance and just, you know, dump that whole energy pattern and leave it in the past, and be able to move forward from it. So again, another great example of where flower essences can be very supportive for that. In general, for energy medicine, it kind of depends, you know, how serious or chronic. With a lot of our animal repeat protocols, I recommend 4 sessions for 30-minute treatments, and they can be spaced out depending on what's going on with the pet. You know, every once a week, it could be every couple of days. So I have sometimes pets who are coming up to surgery, and we do a treatment the day before to help them. We do a distance treatment while they're in surgery, and we might do a treatment or 2 the day or 2 after surgery to help facilitate that recovery period. So really does depend on, you know, what the specifics of your situation are. But again, with energy medicine, it's all about rebalancing the energy. So depending on how many layers and levels have to be, you know, shifted and rebalanced, that's kind of where it can be. But literally, most of these, you will start to see shifts fairly quickly. It could be in a matter of minutes, it could be hours, it could be days. It's usually not months if you are consistently working on supporting them and rebalancing them. So it's not like you can just give them flower essence one day and then be done and say 3 months later, well, nothing happened. There are things you have to be doing on a regular basis to kind of shift the pattern, right? Re-pattern and rebalance. So that is where our consultation would help you understand how best to do that. Here's another great question that came in. What if my vet doesn't believe in these holistic approaches? Can I cause any harm by using these methods? I would say no. And the reason is all of the things that we're talking about can pull alongside very nicely with traditional veterinary care. You know, we may have a different approach, a different feeling about the way animals respond to treatment, or the way animals will be more open to it, but it's a holistic approach. So quite often we are working alongside whatever the person, the pet parent, is doing anyway with their trusted veterinarian. Sometimes they're finding they're not getting results with the veterinarian, and that's why they do kind of seek out another alternative. But everything that we're doing can work complementary to whatever you are doing with your trusted veterinarian team.
You know, there's nothing wrong with getting a clinical diagnosis either. You know, if you have something going on and you don't know what it is, there's nothing wrong getting a clinical diagnosis. Does not mean you have to use their treatment. Legally, they have to give you a script. They have to give you something, because if not, you can always go back at them. So you get the clinical diagnosis, you try something holistically, you give yourself a time frame, you know, realistic one. If I don't see results in such time, I will go to the vet method. That's what you have to choose to do. It's all about the best care we can give to the animals. So yeah, I would just say there's really nothing wrong with the clinical diagnosis. Many times I've sent people, and I have sent, you know, animals, you know, not the animal, but had the client take their animal to get a clinical diagnosis, because sometimes you just don't know what it is. You know, we don't have X-ray eyes. Now, Sue-Ann can communicate a little bit more and kind of find out what's really going on there. So that's, you know, blood work, you never know.
Yeah, and sometimes the vets are open to taking the information.
Yes.
We'll give them our feedback, our learned information from our consults or from a communication session, and then they might take that to the vet and kind of at least, have an idea or a path that they want the vet to go down that the vet may not have thought about, right? So you don't necessarily have to say, oh, I just had an animal communication session, and so Fluffy said, and so I think you should do. And you don't have to do it like that, but you can at least have a clue like, hey, I've noticed Fluffy's more, side seems to hurt a little bit more on the right side, and, or they just seem a little bit more distracted or a little more, anxious about so-and-so. What do you think? There's ways to bring that up where you can present that information in a way that won't be taken as off-putting or threatening, from your vet if they're not open to more holistic or energy medicine-based approaches. So again, it's about helping you get the information you need so that you can help your pet the best way possible. So I think that's all the questions we have time for. We're a little over time. We started a little bit late, but Cindy, I think we wrap it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
So we want to thank you all for being here to learn how to address your pet's stress and anxiety issues safely and naturally. If you're interested in our Pet Premier package, please be sure to contact either Sue Ann and I no later than January 11th at midnight to receive a special live event package price here. Watch your inbox for the details on how to sign up. And we hope you'll be joining us next month, February 13th, on our topic, the itchy, scratchy, bitey, goopy, and poopy show. So it sounds really disgusting, doesn't it? But to help you understand how to deal with all the messy issues that come up with your pet's skin, digestive symptoms, eliminations, and respiratory symptoms, which all can become whacked out. We hope to talk to you again then, and have a good night. Thank you.
Everybody. Bye now.
Bye.